All right, parents, here we go again. It's the Ask Dr. Tony episode. This is the Experience Miracles podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, an expert in pediatrics, neurodevelopmental disorders, and drug-free, nervous system-focused healthcare. On this weekly episode, I'll be addressing the top questions on every parent's mind. If there's one thing we love and welcome, it's parents who never stop learning, asking the hard questions, and advocating for your kiddos like none other. So get ready for some real talk, real-life clinical and parenting experience, and real easy to understand answers that will help your family take action and get to that next level of health and healing. You ask, I answer. Let's dive into today's episode. We're actually going to talk about eczema today. We're going to get into skin challenges and eczema and rashes because whenever we have eczema, whenever the skin is showing problems, the skin is our surface layer, obviously, right? Anatomically and neurophysiologically. And so if the skin shows up having problems, that is a sure sign that there's a lot more problems beneath the surface, not just with the gut, not just with the immune system, and not just with inflammation, which is probably as far as a lot of you, if you're dealing with skin stuff, eczema stuff, you get online, you get on Google, and you get elsewhere, and you kind of get, okay, it's in the gut, it's in the immune system, it's in the microbiome, it's in leaky gut, it's in toxins, it's in diet, it's in dairy, it's in gluten, it's in these conversations, and you are correct. It absolutely is. We got to get into gut immune microbiome conversation with this one if we're going to talk about anything immune system related, especially eczema. Before I dive all the way into eczema, though, with this one, just while I have you guys, I want you to know that in the spring and fall seasons, the other things that get sparked, and they're coming through the question platform big time as well, this is when anxiety gets worse. This is when seizures get worse. This is when behavior gets worse. This is when sleep gets worse. This is when stress modulation and resiliency, kind of slack in our rope, runs out. And so when our nervous systems go through more stress, every other system of the body becomes less functional. And so that includes our gut immune skin. Okay, we're going to go neuro, gastro, immunological surface skin. Okay, that's how we're going to get eczema sorted out. But I want you to know that if you've been sending questions in about pandas, I've got an episode coming out about that. If you've been sending questions in about anxiety and certain things that are really getting worse during this spring season, actually what we're talking about here, where the immune system component has to process more through the body, and this is not allergies. What has happened is people who sell allergy products, right, over-the-counter medications or prescription medications, they have, and who does the medical system work best with to sell their products? The media, right? It's kind of crazy. Like you literally log on, well, I don't, but some people do. You know, you watch the news, you check like a news app, and it's like the pollen count. You know, it's like everything. We've just been trained to be so scared of everything nowadays. Spring and fall have immune challenges to them that are different than the dead of winter and the heat of summer. And because the immune system needs to do more work in the spring and the fall, because there is more grass and there's more pollen or there's more whatever coming out there, what it means is if the immune system already struggles, and we're going to call it the neuroimmune system, if it already struggles to do its job effectively, efficiently, and fully when things are good, when it's not a stressful transitional season, it's going to struggle double, triple, or much worse during these transitions. And that's when the eczema will flare. That's when the pandas will flare. That's when the neurological stuff will flare. So whatever condition we ever talk about here on the platform and on the podcast, we're going to be talking about this triad, if you will, of neuro, gut, immune function. And the neuro system is tied directly to neurological conditions, obviously ADHD, anxiety, seizures, and so forth, autism. The neuro system is tied directly to the gut and has a lot more to do with the gut function. So nervous system controlling the gut, it's a two-way street. The gut is very connected to the nervous system, but it's not equal. It's a very imbalanced in terms of how they communicate, where the nervous system is the boss of the gut, okay? It's like being married in the best of ways. It's like, oh, there's two of them. They must make decisions together. No, that'd be a terribly imbalanced attempted balance, which would get you imbalanced if you're following me here. And it's just like, dudes don't need to make a decision. We're not going to get that right. We're just going to, well done. We're in charge of smiling and nodding and following directions. Okay. So the gut and the immune system, the nervous system and the gut, They got to roll that way. The nervous system's the boss. The nervous system's the mom of the family. It knows much more what's going on. Doesn't make the gut not important, makes the nervous system more important. And then the immune system. So you've probably heard, oh, the gut and the immune system are really linked up together. Yes, they are. Guess what? They're linked via the nervous system, okay? And so eczema, skin issues, where does that play in? It's a sign that actually all three are really off track. And what we run into all the time, I'm going to get deep into the science here, and then as always, we're going to go into action steps and strategies and say, okay, well, what does the most amount of good here? And we'll put it all together. We're not just going to talk about, one component or two components. We'll really, really dial in all the components. But what we find is there's just one layer deeper, and we have been blessed. Our practice and our platform and podcast here, we talk a lot about autism and ADHD and the neurological stuff. Most of those kiddos are chronically sick. Their gut's a mess, their immune system's a mess, and a lot of them, their skin's a mess too, or at least was in the past. So it's still kind of brewing underneath the surface, right? And so the gut is just the outer Sorry, I said that in the wrong order. The skin is literally just the last defense for the gut and the detox elimination system to get things out of the body. Because when the nervous system is aware of what's going on, which it is at all times, it's going to say, these toxins, these things that are in here aren't supposed to be in here, get them out. Well, let's track this down. What's really going on with this? When we look at this component with gut and eczema and immune system challenges, what we know is it's a sign that the gut isn't working really well. So let's stay. So we kind of just got done looking at things from a very 30,000-foot overview. We have to, if we're going to talk about eczema, we have to be able to talk about how things connect, not just through the gut and not just through the immune system, but how the nervous system controls it as well. Well, now, if we're talking about eczema and skin issues, let's really laser focus 10,000 foot, get a little more granular on to the gut. The gut has a lot of things that will throw the gut off track, okay? The most common things that would be right there, right? This is what we're all going to think. You don't need to be a pediatric chiropractor. You don't need to be a functional nutritionist. You don't need to be a doctor of any kind to go gut issues, stomach issues, digestive issues. We got to fix this with nutrition. We have to look at what's coming into the body, right? So how do we connect directly to the digestive system? Through the mouth, right? Through what we ingest, through what we inhale, and through what gets into the body, right? Well, the skin, thankfully, is mostly impenetrable. Now, there's a section here we got to get to about different things going on the skin, and unfortunately, actually, let's get to it right here, because it's the simplest one. On the surface, we got to really look at certain cleaners, right? We got to just say, okay, is the household, because what people don't know is there's certain cleaners from all over the place, from the kitchen to the laundry detergent to different things that they put into kids' clothes and how synthetic and chemically laced that they are. And so if you have a kiddo who's struggling with eczema, you probably already gone down this road. A lot of times I don't spend a lot of time here when we're making content on the things that I know you've probably already tried and exhausted to the T. But it's essential to look at different types of clothing. It's essential to clean up laundry detergents. It's essential to clean up different chemicals in the house, in the environment, what soaps, what shampoos, those things are going in. That would be the outer kind of, I guess you would, in a very healthy way, say the more obvious things to approach and tackle with eczema. And what we run into with parents all the time is they'll say, man, we have tried everything. We are ordering these special diapers. We are ordering special clothes. We have special blankets. We are spending tons of money on different detergents and different things. So we're cleaned up the outside, and our kid's skin on the outside is still struggling. So then one layer deeper. That's the gut. That's the digestive system. And so you go, okay, well, how would bad things get in there? Well, through food, through ingestments, right? And through getting it in that way. So then we say, okay, let's get dairy out, let's get grains out, let's get preservatives out of our kids' diet. Or if you're still nursing and breastfeeding, and your child's having skin and gut issues, well, then that's mom's diet, right? And mom might very likely, when we're dealing with skin issues, which as soon as you learn that a skin issue is a gut issue, then you're awesomely, incredibly going to go and you're going to clean up diet, right? Whether your kiddo, if they're done nursing, or yours, and get into this kind of restrictive diet and say, hey, let's put things in there that are easy to digest, that are easy to break down, because my kid's gut is not breaking these things down very easily, because that's when it shows up the skin. If the gut can't completely break these foodstuffs down, chop them up, dice them up, absorb them, assimilate that, I'll get into that next, and get them out, literally through the diaper into the toilet, if they can't get this food all the way broken down and they can't get it into the body where it needs to go to be used for good things, and then get the rest of it, the waste products of it, if you will, get them out through poop, then they come out through the skin. That's how honestly simple eczema and skin issues really are. But there's more. There's always more, right? As we get a little deeper. So now we got to go, okay, well, if the gut's not doing a good job at that, the first move we could make after changing things on the outside, less harmful chemicals coming onto the skin. The second layer of depth we can go into is we can look at what's going into the gut, and we can put easier to digest foods in there. We can put probiotics in there. We could put omega-3s in there. We could put all sorts of supplements in there to try and support. We could put enzymes in there, right, to try and support this as well. We could go homeopathic. We could do all sorts of functional nutritional things. And what we run into all of the time in clinic when we're seeing eczema kiddos and skin challenge kiddos is families will say, yes, we've done all that too, and we still can't seem to get a breakthrough. Our kiddo is on a perfect paleo, clean, awesome, organic diet. We got probiotics, we got digestive enzymes, we got all this functional nutrition stuff added into it, and we're still dealing with these gut issues. Okay, so we're going deeper. Now, if you're still staying in that functional medicine world, which is our favorite world, by the way, it's the first world we send to as we're combining care and working on things. Now, maybe your provider has run some food allergies and environmental allergy testing. And hopefully with allergy testing, which should come into play, and actually when you get done with this, you're going to see there might be kind of a cheat code, a little Mario Kart reference. You might be able to skip a lap here and get to where we're going next. But if you've done all the diet changes on your own and kind of done the obvious, then you go deeper. And a lot of times that is testing for food allergies and environmental allergies. And you might be blown away. I've had many kids have their allergy tests, and we're talking actual allergy. So there's conventional allergy testing. That's not going to get, it's like the skin prick test and all that sort of stuff, like a pediatrician or a conventional allergist or immunologist would do. Like in the conventional medical system, even when they purport to go deep, they're not, okay? So if you're ever going to go get allergy testing for your kiddo, go through a functional provider, go deep, get all the different forms of, like, I'm not going to get into it here, but there's just many, many different forms of IG testing and immune testing that you want to get into. And what'll surprise a lot of families is they'll go, holy cow, my kid's allergic to apples. My kid's allergic to strawberries. My kid's allergic to, and here's where I'm going with this as we continue to dive deeper into the root causes, plural, because there's something that's going to link all this together. And we're not quite there yet, but I need you to hold with me because I know a lot of you are like, I've done this. What else do you have to say? But I need to put this all into sequence to let you know how it is all connected together. And one of the most disheartening, frustrated parents we run into with eczema is not just the one who's cleaned up all the cleaners on the outside, right? So less harmful chemicals coming onto the skin. It's not just the ones who have done all the diet changes and added the more obvious supplements on their own. It's the ones who have gone and done all of the allergy testing and the functional testing, and they have found out, wow, my kid can eat 2 things. What a life, right? Oh, we can keep their skin healthy. We can keep their immune system healthy if they just eat burgers and with a side of beef, right? And I'm being facetious on this, but that isn't necessarily the highest quality of life for a family or for a child who's dealing with neuro, gastro, immuno, skin issues, eczema, okay? So when we get to jam with that family, we get to let them know the good news that if your child is having food allergies, gut issues, and then it's so bad it goes all the way into skin and eczema issues, it's actually a sure sign that there is still something deeper, stress. So the nervous system is the main system that controls digestive function, immune and inflammatory regulation, and it's those 2 middle guys. So I know I'm on I can't kind of always like draw this out of the whiteboard, but nervous system, then let's call that 1. Then you've got gut, immune, inflammatory. Let's put those together because the gut and immune system really are homies. They really are linked at not technically at the hip. They're linked. Okay, that's a nerdy analogy joke, but I'll get done with that. And then you have the skin, right, coming to the outside. So what a lot of families have been told is, hey, you're getting to the deepest layer of eczema by getting into gut health and by getting into immune health and getting into inflammation. And what we get to tell them excitedly is there's actually 1 layer deeper. That gut immune inflammatory cascade oftentimes is just the middleman that is definitely dysfunctional, definitely leaky gut, definitely disrupted and dysbiotic, microbiome. There's definitely too many of the bad guys still in there that are getting through. There's definitely not enough of the good guys that are getting absorbed. Like, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If your child has eczema, their gut, immune system, microbiome is a mess. And we're not skipping over the gut. We're adding something more deep, more foundational, and more in charge of gut function. So the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and the vagus nerve, VAGUS. If you haven't been with us at all, and you've never heard of that, if you have, you've heard of that 1,000 times over. The vagus nerve is literally the gut-brain connection. And what the nervous system does, specifically the parasympathetic, which is called the rest and digest side of the nervous system, is that system controls 4 gut functions in sequence. Number 1, motility. This is where it all gets hung up. The majority of our kiddos who have eczema in our clinic and through the work we do, they are constipated. Now, a lot of times, and I'm splitting hairs, this is what we got to do with this. We don't want to ever go surface level with any condition for any of your families. We want to get you all the way down to the granular neuroscientific details, because when you really know the deep foundational root cause, all of them, then you know how to get into the action to get everything better. And so what will happen all the time is families will say, hey, well, we definitely deal with some slow digestive motility, and my kiddo used to be constipated. This could bring into the conversation of Miralax, which is one of the worst medications of all time. But what we'll have to, we always kind of ask that with the follow-up question. All right, let's just play this scenario out. Because they'll say, you know what, now we've been on all this intervention stuff. We've removed all these offending foods. We've got probiotics. We've got fish oil. We've got digestive enzymes. We've got all these supplements that we give our kiddo to address this gut and skin and eczema issue. So we're good. They're no longer constipated. A question within the question, which is only asked to be able to help parents figure out, okay, there's something more going on, is to say this. Well, what if you took all that back? What if you took the 3, 4, 5 supplements that your kiddo needs on the regular to go to the bathroom on the regular? Is that how we think regular optimal health should be? Did God design our kids short of probiotics? Did God design our kids not enough digestive enzymes? Did God design our kids not able to go poop on their own without a couple of probiotics, prunes, and all these different supplements? Now, I'm the greatest fan of these. If you walk, I'm doing this in my home studio. You walk over there, we've got an entire cabinet. There's not a single medication in our house, but there's a whole lot of supplements, right? I'm not throwing these, just like in the conversation of eczema, where we're talking about the gut, but we're going beyond it. We're not throwing the gut out. We're not going to throw supplements out. We're not going to say, hey, kids can be healthy without probiotics, because we could get in. I'm a farmer. I could get into the fact that our dirt and Monsanto and Roundup and everything have destroyed the world, and they have. I know that too, right? I could do an agricultural presentation for you right in the midst of eczema. But what we need to look at is the nervous system controls the motility of gut function. The gut's actually a muscle. So before we test the gut for its immunoglobulins and its inflammatory cascades and the amount of strep or good bacteria, bad bacteria, before we GI map the gut, we need to neuro map the gut. Before we look at all the little creatures and critters that are in there that we need more of, or the creatures and critters that are in there, farmer speak, that need to not be in there, before we do lab testing, before we do stool testing, before we do a deep dive blood work and we figure out physiologically what's going on with our kid's gut and immune system, we need to figure out what's going on neurologically with our kid's gut and immune system. Because the nervous system operates independent of physiology. Because the nervous system is in charge of physiological function. And so the nervous system specifically to gut function goes in this sequence. Motility. The gut's a muscle. The esophagus is a muscle. The stomach's a muscle. The small intestine's a muscle. The large intestine's a muscle. The colon's a muscle. And no child and no one can move it on its own. It is completely run on autopilot via the autonomic nervous system. This gut motility in nerd terms is called peristalsis. When a child's nervous system gets stuck on sympathetic, the opposite of rest and digest, the opposite of the parasympathetic, when it gets shifted into stress mode through what I call the perfect storm, which is any types of stress, too much, too early, too often, and the child's nervous system shifts into this subluxated, sympathetic dominant, stuck state, the first place, literally, this is how it works, the first place the nervous system will shut down and preserve energy is from gut function. Because the gut is working 24/7, 365. How much does an infant eat? How often? All the time. How much does the toddler eat? Often. All the time. How much does a teenager eat? Especially dudes. All the time. So the gut is a huge drain, I'm going to say it that way for this one, of resources from the nervous system. So when the nervous system is stressed, sympathetic dominant, and in protective mode, it needs to preserve resources. So the first thing that stress and sympathetic dominance in the perfect storm do to gut function is they delay and stall movement, motility, peristalsis, okay? And so with that is where that becomes an issue. So now, even if your child has a perfect diet and you grow your own fermented foods and probiotics and enzymes, your child's digestive motility will be stalled and interfered with, and that creates inefficiency of the next functions, which are assimilation. So the gut and the nervous system, this is really the nervous system. Now the nervous system will be aware of these are good foods, these proteins, these macronutrients. The nervous system picks up through identification, through neurology. That needs to come into the body. We need that. That's good stuff. That's step 2. So motility is 1. Assimilation, get the good things in, is number 2. Absorption is number 2. I said that wrong. Number 3 is assimilation. So absorb the good things, not the bad things. It's not supposed to absorb the bad things. Absorption is number 2. Assimilation is number 3. That sends the different nutrients to the different tissues and cells. All of this is directed by the nervous system. If you ever want to see God, just study the nervous system. It's incredible. I'm getting pretty nerdy here, and there's actually a lot more vivid detail to how these functions actually work than even just motility, absorption, assimilation. And guess what's last? Neuro digestive sequential control is a 4-part process that finishes with elimination and detoxification. And so a child with eczema clearly has significantly dysfunctional neurodigestive elimination. I went really deep for this half hour or whatever this has been to get into the weeds with you to say it's not just what's happening on the outside that causes eczema. You got to handle it though. We got to really clean up our detergents. We got to really clean up our household. We got to really watch what clothes. The skin, especially if the inside is sensitive, the outside is going to be even more sensitive. So especially for a season, you're going to really be aware of how harsh and nasty chemicals are everywhere in our environment on the outside. And that's certainly not going to help the skin get better. Next layer deeper, positively freaking lutely, is digestion. Digestive health has and overall health, period, has a ton to do with our nutrition. Are we making sure we're not putting chemicals in that system? And are we making sure that the good macronutrients, healthy foods, clean foods, organic foods are going in? That's a huge part of getting a kiddo better with eczema. I just wanted to spend the majority of my time with you getting down into the innards of neurogastric function, because that then, if not doing well, leads to the inflammation, leads to the disruption of the microbiome, leads to the leaky gut, and then that shows up in the skin. And so if you've taken care of the outside and you took care of the inside, part 1, nutrition, the final thing to take care of is the nervous system. The other things I didn't even talk about that are so essential to disrupting neurogastroimmune function are vaccination and medication, okay? So now if a child has had a lot, because there is a lot of vaccinations given all at once, real early for pretty loosely constructed reasons, into a child and injected right into that system. So it's got to detox all of that. It's got to detox all of those things. Same with medication. Every time a child's put on antibiotics, that's a huge issue of disrupting the gut and its function from that physiological standpoint. So if you're putting this all together, what we find with kids with eczema is we have to clean up the outside, yes. We have to clean up the inside, yes, also. But the inside is 2 layers deep. It's not just the gut and the immune system, it's the nervous system as well. So I know here the way we put our information out, it's different than when we do YouTube videos and other sort of videos. And if you ever want to see our visuals, again, go to the website and go to YouTube. Go to pxdocs.com and go to YouTube, because what I'm going to talk about next, just verbally to give you the visual, the most important test by a million miles. And I am not saying that gut mapping and allergy testing, again, done. If you're going to go get allergy testing, don't go to where the conventional pediatrician sends you. Go to see the functional medicine geniuses. But even our local functional med rock stars, they know about this nervous system stress, dysfunction, subluxation, dysregulation, sympathetic dominance, and they know that if they can't get a kiddo, their gut and skin and everything better, they know they got to get them adjusted. But the test we use in our office that will show us the deepest layer every single time that is really causing eczema to be at the level it is what's called a neurothermal scan. So this is a measure of what's called regional dysautonomia, which is a word I'm kind of surprised I didn't use, but it's what I was talking about the whole time. Dysautonomia is just the neurological term that means the nervous system is shifted into sympathetic dominance. So there's too much sympathetic fight or flight protection. And then dysautonomia means nervous system imbalance, which is where the parasympathetic system and the vagus nerve are suppressed and shut down. When dysautonomia, sympathetic dominance, vagus nerve dysfunction, and chiropractically, we have a catch-all word called subluxation, which means all of that is happening. That means the very first system that the nervous system will innately shut down, preserve, and kind of steal energy from is the gut and the digestive system. The first function it will slow down is motility and elimination. That then sparks inflammation within the immune system. That then keeps all these toxins and things in the body because they can't get out so easily when the nervous system is stressed and subluxated. And the final defense that the body has to try and get them out is the skin. And so when we see eczema, we see nervous system dysfunction. When we see skin issues, we see dysautonomia, sympathetic dominance, vagus nerve dysfunction, and subluxation. Do we see cleaning up the environment? Heck yes. Do we see cleaning up nutrition? Heck yes. Do we see making sure we hopefully stop the onslaught of antibiotics, corticosteroids, vaccinations if they're living in that medical world? Heck yes. Do we see the benefit of adding probiotics and adding enzymes and adding supplements and adding homeopathics and those sort of things and the coconut oils and the certain lotions and everything else? Yes, we do. But we see it deeper too. We see more going on. And when we can get there, all the amazing things you've done from the outside, from the nutrition, from the supplementation, from the special lotions and that, oh my goodness, it will help. And I'll close with this. Guys, I've known this neurophysiological, sequence and deep layer of well-being, and how it relates to the skin and eczema, different things. What else would show up on that? The different conditions that have to do with the skin, obviously. So we've seen this all the time in that way. And my 4 kiddos, there's still times, even though we eat super clean, we take care of our nervous systems and regulate them like crazy, and we have the supplements and the good things, and we don't put toxins to our kid. I've had this saying on the podcast 1,000 times over. We don't ingest, inhale, or inject toxins at all. Every now and again, especially spring, our kids will have a little bit of skin stuff, okay? And that's a sign we've got to dig deeper into all of those layers, including their nervous system. So I just want you to know that perhaps the most frustrated families that go through this are the ones we've been talking about all the time. You live crazy healthy. You live crazy Chiro-y. You live crazy granola and natural and chemical free. Even our families who live that way are not immune, pun intended here, to skin issues and eczema and those sort of things. And so when you see it, don't throw your process out here with this. Just dig deeper. Just go back to the basics, go back to the drawing board and go deeper. You usually, when a kid, let's say you're a wellness family, you're doing very healthy, you do all this sort of stuff, and you're even getting adjusted. Generally what happens is you've got to, 1, get more adjustments. Your kiddo went through a growth spurt or something, just they got extra stress on their nervous system, and they just need an uptick of nervous system care to really root out that sympathetic dominance, okay? For my kiddos, when they go through different immune challenges, including if the skin thing shows up, one of my daughters, that's a little bit more, her gut and her skin are a little bit more sensitive than the other kiddos. That's a sign for me, okay, this nervous system stress snuck in and got a little deeper. So we increase the frequency of the adjustments. We ultra clean up the diet, and then we add more supplements. And that's the key. That's the answer to this. Increase nervous system care, take it to the nth degree, really focus on diet and being super clean, getting the chemicals, getting sugar, getting dairy down, and then add supplements. And it's actually that simple in those 3 steps. It's just a lot deeper too. It can be a lot more complicated than that inside the body. But even if it's more complicated and more intricate inside the body, those are still the 3 key functions to really dig in. And then the overtime, the bonus work is, the different lotions and the different topical things that are going to be so helpful. And I don't want to skip over those, but I think any family who's working on this has already tried all of those, and they're looking not for the outside in approach, and maybe not even the digestion and the probiotics, and the gut microbiome conversation. You probably already done that, the diet changes and the detoxes. You got to get into nervous system dysregulation. You got to get a thermal scan. You got to find out if that's going on with your kiddo, and you get down that deep and get that taken care of. You'll see the gut heals, the immune system heals, and then the surface heals, and then the skin heals from there. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Do you have a question that you would like to submit? Either send it to support@pxdocs.com with the subject Ask Dr. Tony, or head on over to our socials @pxdocs, where you can submit your question in our stories every single week. Every kid counts and every family counts, so let's leave no questions left unanswered. If you loved this episode and you want to help us reach more kids, we would so appreciate if you left a review and a rating on your favorite platform. God bless, be well. We'll see you on the next one.